published everywhere, and he's great. And here's Jim Richard.
I want to thank you all for coming, and like Winnie, I want to thank Sue and Ellen for putting this together. And it's great to read with Winnie, my old friend and fellow Victorianist. And actually, she gave me an idea for how to start this. I wasn't going to read this, but like Winnie, I'm interested in the slowness of Victorian cameras. And I once saw an article in a magazine, two people sitting on a bench, all stiffly photographed, and faint blurs in between the camera and the people, which the caption explained were streetcars and pedestrians. Because the camera, you know, anything to move, forget it. The camera wouldn't register it. So that struck me as an interesting image for how the soul is, that only notices things that are permanent and there all the time, as opposed to the heart, which deals with everything that we love and lose. So this poem kind of came out of that, and it's called A Disquisition Upon the Soul. It doesn't register the kid on rollerblades, or two on the bench that wind sends lightly together, or the times they leave, or who sleeps under it. No, those are the hearts. The soul is an old, slow camera that shows which way the waveless ocean was, and the day, and darkness, and again the day. But all things moved or moving, us or ours, it sees through. Therefore, it does not see them. Is it the restlessness, then, that in the thick of our lives sends us to windows, wishing for the end of all that has made us happy? That, sadly, is also the heart. The soul would not know which dying friend you thought you could leave for dead, what shattering love you could leave your daughter for, or that you stayed, since no one stays long enough. And being immortal, it hardly knows it was alive when it is back where it came from after all our years, as faintly blued as snow is from the height of our skies, and heavier only by the sound of waters. This one, privately, I call these cloud. This is a cloud poem, and I call it that because they're very fun to write, and it comes as a kind of a cloud of a mood, which I keep in a separate part of the notebook, and it gradually condenses like the gas cloud around a star into little planets and little pieces. So this is a lot of pieces, and one reason I like them is because I never know what they're going to be about until they're done. And now that it's done, I would say there's a lot of cars in it, and a lot of disappearing children. And like Ellen, I would say, since she's not here, but not mean my daughter is not here, like Ellen, I have a kid away at college this fall. It happens to be my last one. So this is, I think, kind of an empty nest poem, although I wouldn't even say that. It's called Latecomers. And like I said, they're just little pieces, and they seem to me to go in order, but I'll just pause briefly between the pieces. Latecomers. Never, my mother told me, drive through piles of leaves. There might be children. The dark at 4, that too soon bending for a low door, that driving fast to get home while the car, a held breath, lasts. Skid marks, guardrail down, some crazy pod has blown like frost breath, like the foam where Ceres' daughter, kissed strong, plunged her chariot through the black earth as if it were water. Under the ocean of new dark, our little house, a slide held up to the light. Don't open windows lest our lamps, lest in our minds the dime-sized skies be doused. Downed line crackling, misdelivered bill that the lateness of the year makes into signs. 4 leaves, yellow, yield, oh, yield. Crest of a hill, the still reorganizing air, where something left through something like a door. And looking down, the postal depot's 100 vans setting out on their appointed rounds, rays of a great white flower. That bending forward when the car, for a sudden yellow, breaks, that straightening up in whatever the opposite is of prayer. The God who thought of all the other gods, who doesn't need us to believe, so slowly was it built, his cathedral of the empty fields, ironweed and goldenrod, its waste metals, that it fades slowly. You can still hear it, the faint roar of height in the ears of the stone carvers, way up, small as sparrows, and the click of their chisels as crickets. Flicker, suppressed, of recognition, rolling his window down, as if he might be my fate, asking, ironically, for directions. Or I might be his. Muting my music, I tell him how the streets turned in the universe as I used to know it. The lingering touch on your shoulder, the wave to UPS, the sounding interested in whoever drops by the office, telepathic aid to the kid with the heavy backpack, this sitting here watching how squirrels bury things shallowly all over, these little winds scattering our seeds so widely that when winter comes, it won't be able to find us in all the size of our land. The car door slam, steps in the gravel, keys. Are we all home? Someone returning late thousands of years, only to ask what's happened. Breath of wet stone. House is a tree we climb in, sleeping at the tip of a branch, upstairs. TV left on to discourage predators. Is it late or early? Some party breaking up, knots of hilarity, doors slamming and slamming harder. Apparently the high beams see nothing in our dark room, lit, then darker. On their stoops, mothers with the same wood spoon, calling in unison, children who will turn over to sleep all winter or rise, arms out like scarecrows, leaves streaming down their sides. Okay, these are even smaller pieces. These are aphorisms, maxims, whatever you want. I call them vectors. Aphorisms are the ideal literary form for those with compromised attention spans, which is me all the time and anybody 40 minutes into a poetry reading. So they have numbers. I'll read the numbers just so you know when one's over and the next one's beginning. 1. The road reaches every place. The shortcut, only one. 2. Those who demand consideration for their sacrifices were making investments, not sacrifices. 3. Despair says, I cannot lift that weight. Happiness says, I do not have to. 4. Pessimists live in fear of their hope. Optimists in fear of their fear. 5. What you give to a thief is stolen. 6. You've never said anything as stupid as what people thought you said. 7. Who gives his heart away too easily must have a heart under his heart. 8. I am saving good deeds to buy a great sin. 9. I don't read this one on college campuses. If the couple could see themselves 20 years later, they might not recognize their love, but they would recognize their argument. 10. Disillusion is also an illusion. 11. Our lives get complicated because complexity is so much simpler than simplicity. 12. The wound hurts less than your desire to wound me. 13. The best way to know your faults is to notice which ones you accuse others of. Take it back, that's just me. 14. No matter how much time I save, I have only now. 15. Water deepens where it has to wait. 16. Ah, what can fill the heart? But then, what can't? 17. Opacity gives way. Transparency is the mystery. 18. Shadows are harshest when there is only one lamp. 19. All stones are broken stones. 22. Sometimes you skip them. Each lock makes 2 prisons. 24. There are silences harder to take back than words. 25. It's easy to renounce the world till you see who picks up what you renounced. 27. Of all the ways to avoid living, perfect discipline is the most admired. 28. Happiness is not the only happiness. 29. If you want to know how they could forget you, wait till you forget them. 30. I'm hugely overpaid, except compared to the people I work with. 31. Who breaks the thread? The one who pulls, the one who holds on. 32. My personal motto. All work is the avoidance of harder work. 33. Just a couple more of these and I'll go back to something else. You who have proved how much like me you are, how could I trust you? 35. Experience tends to immunize against experience, which is why the most experienced are not the wisest. And last one of these. All things in moderation, wisdom says, and says last, do not be too wise. What do you do after that? I don't know. I don't have anything shorter than that. But I have something almost as short. These are new, and it would be fun for me to try to read them. And I don't know which ones I'm going to read. They're sort of micro poems. The longest one, this first one is the longest one. It's all of 10 short lines. They go down to 2 lines. And they're sort of rhymey a little bit, some of them. Desire. I put my manic parakeet, so cute I thought I would die, in a box to keep it still, and poured, was it love? Deep, deeply, into its flicking eyes. Oh, desire is ingenious and cruel, surely. But how could I tell that boy, little as he was, to wait, for what? I cannot even now say clearly. Let's see. Could not. This is one of those male moments when you don't know what to say in the middle of an argument. I guess that. Could not. It's sort of bounced off a Christina Rossetti poem, if anyone has read it. I don't know if that helps at all. I cannot tell you how it was, I cannot tell you what it was, or how she said it. My knees were free fall, and my glass an outer planet. I could not tell her that I heard rain drying on the roof, a shadow sharpening, a shovel's harsh, then harsh in gravel. I was the cosmonaut, all thrusters drained, who tumbles one last fry of static out of radio range. I'm trying to find my McCaffrey poem here. Okay. Well, here's my daughter poem first. Flock. Giddy, uproarious, daughter and friends, I feel as a tree must when it can't tell its feelings from the clamor of birds in its branches, suddenly lifting. Reunion. In the Isle of Relishes, woman I haven't seen in 30 years. I remember you so well, she says, gazing somewhere in the air. This really happened. I met a girl, she wasn't that girl I dated in high school in the Isle of McCaffrey, but she doesn't seem to be here, so I can say I can say that story. This poem contains a large number, which is actually the weight of the earth, as I heard it as a 10-year-old anyway. Gravitas. The fine chain lowered in the dark well of your breasts, the music gone soft, the planets 6 sextillion tons, pulling the glass I easily lift. Form. This is my favorite one because it's only like 10 syllables. Form. My two temptations are one, to be finished and un. Okay, that's enough of those. And maybe I'll finish up by reading a few snow poems here. I'm in the mood for snow already. No, I'm not either. It's just thinking about it. You know, you get in the mood for autumn in August, and right now I'm thinking about snow. If it came, I'd be mad. But this is called Late Snow. Pretend it's spring. Late snow. There's always a chance it won't like stopping. We'll warm to the idea of going on and on through April to see what's happening beyond the yellow walls of daffodils, and what May's like, that hour it has never stayed up till. We'll beg to be allowed to watch from a distance the rumor of June, that afterland, July. We'll be flexible to get what it wants, conceding even on temperature and color, to snow warmly and invisibly over your short-sleeved guests in August, a slight dilution of their upheld wine. It promises to be good, will moderate its obsession with the hexagon and tendency to drift, until at last it can't be told from the stiffness of your rising, a little late in the latter days of summer, from the dry, clear downpour of the sun, from your dream of the early snow, still weeks and weeks in the future. And this is its companion. But I had to read them out of order since it's the wrong season. And I have to find out where it is. Okay. This is early snow. It's a little longer. It's like 30 or 35 lines or something. It has an epigraph from George Herbert. Let a bleak paleness chalk the door, so all within be livelier than before. And I'm afraid this is also an empty nest poem. And after this one, I'll read out like an 8-line one, and then I'll be out of here. Early snow. And I should say that this is based on a real incident. I don't actually remember where it was, when it was. Maybe sometime in the late 70s or 80s, when we were driving way north of Westchester, I guess, and there was this incredibly early snow. It couldn't have been much later in the year than this. And for miles around, every tree was broken in half. It was just a complete devastation, and it was, you know, sublime in the sense that scary and beautiful at the same time. If I could make leaves, I'd surely want to keep them, but forests let whole summers of them fall, parting that must come easier come autumn, when their spring green looks a little worse for wear. It's economical. In temperate modern climes, replacement runs you much less than repair, and broad, flat leaves perfect for catching sun, also catch snow, back-breaking megatons. We saw that once, vistas of oak and maple beheaded by a heavy September snow, millions of refugees streaming to the horizon, bent double, carrying everything they owned. Some landing miles-wide jet had shaved them level. Some charless blast had evanesced their crowns, exposing the full-dress foliage of our summer as a nakedness, battered, steaming under snow. Moment of impact when you can't tell what is broken, instant waking when you don't know who is gone. Our pale, pale friend rehabbing from a stroke. More years than you have just to get back where you were. Where were we? On the Taconic, 80-something. All that was shattered, surely, has regrown. Our daughters are gone. As for the first snow, it was probable weeks. It was possible years ago. Is this it? The faint blur at the end of sight, the ticking on the pane, that missed stare in the chest. So many times we've whispered, this is it. Well, it's December. Once, we will be right. Already the school kids cheer for it to mount into the little disaster they call freedom. Nowhere to go, but everywhere. That feeling, nothing to lose, so quickly lost. Help me to hold it. As for our list of have, of should, of probably never will, or really never wanted enough to do and didn't, drop it and grow again. Let snows obliterate the walks and roads, and all our lots blend lightly into one. Better by far the cold of the gods should kill us than their gifts, or that we would not let them go. And last poem, Epilogue in Snow. Little Robert Frost rip here, but I don't mind ending by ripping off Robert Frost. Epilogue in Snow. The distant speck I'm taking as my model of a man who wastes time well might say, whose woods these are, if they're not mine. But he swerves, as I also swerve, away. I watch the woods fill up with road or snow, and snow or woodland overflow the road. The wind has whited out the signs that would say who owns what's next, if anyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I hope everybody enjoyed that as much as I did, and we're just going to take another quick break. There's only a few people signed up for the open mic, so please sign up, and then
Nancy said, are you going to be funny? Well, I don't know. So I am not reading my desperately sad, miserable, tragic one. I'm going to read to having watched CNN all summer. Freedom. This poem has no zippers, no metal buttons on its jeans, no metal shanks in its shoes, no metal on its hip, in its hip. It wears no suspenders, no belt buckle, no underwired bra, no false gold in its ears. Dressed in gauzy cargo pants, silk top, and flip-flops, it raises no suspicions, wafts through security, the gate, the tunnel to the plane. It takes off into the stratosphere, where the air is not owned and laughter cannot be bought. Speaking softly on the intercom, it fires up the neurons of passengers and crew to a lightning of ideas that seed the needed rain. And this one I really admired, coiled helix, blown petals in the grass, and Winnie's story about the poetical genius who told her to dismiss the angels. This poem, a poet and professor once told me, should not be rewritten. It should it should not be rethought. It should be reimagined. So maybe it should. Squirrel, robin, leaf. A squirrel stretches out along a branch of the pin oak. Gray is the bark, a horizontal question mark. A robin in the grass picks breakfast bugs carefully, his breast feathers orange as the border tiger lilies. A toddler bends down to a leaf on the ground, lingers, matches the leaf to her palm and her fingers. Baby, leaf, lily, bug, robin, squirrel, tree, momentary correspondences hint a unity. Thank
you. Good evening. My name is John Bourne. Nice to be here tonight. Like many of you, I work in poetry from time to time. And from time to time, I'll have a terrific idea, 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning, and I write down this most brilliant poem ever to have been written. And to come back later, it's changed. I don't know if you've ever had that experience. Poems in motion. There are poems that, when freshly minted, won't stay still, keep changing. Overnight, muscular passages sag and lose their tone. The next day, held up to the light and shaken, sometimes words fall out. Words that don't belong. Even whole phrases like, "Oh, ramshackle stars, rampaging in the firmament," or "Thou maiden, unholy magnet to these rambunctious loins." These misadventures are banished quickly. Told to hit the road, Jack. Take a powder, vamoose. Yes, there are poems that changed after their inception, somehow lose their brilliant certitude in the light of a new day. Perfectly good phrases diminish, fall out of grace, become outsized, overblown, windy, redundant, unwelcome to the enterprise, and beg for replacement. How to explain this oddity? This poem, for example, with its seamless purity, its airy rigor, now only tomorrow will tell if it suffers some loss of spirit, say, grows wattles under his chin. Develops mayhap some odor not sensed earlier. The motion of poems is something someone should write about sometime. Spread the news about poems that change overnight, while the innocent poet, secure in his Arcadian temple, dreams the dream of the perfect poem fit for any god. Thank you. So like we're doing twosies, I have one more. This is about, the other day at the Y, I came out of the pool, and I looked back, and there was this lady, and I looked at the back of her bathing suit. There was two big straps at the back, and I had these thoughts. It's all right. Fashion and the lady fair. Leaving the pool, I spy the hearty straps of a lady's swimsuit, a crisscross affair, to keep her in, to keep me out. In German, aptly called the Brusthalter, Americans are stuck with the French, brassiere, while in the Congo, all swings free, unnamed. Not Madonna's Vulcarian cones or the pointy torpedoes of the 50s, breasts are now on their own to sink or swim in spandex or loose in the airy day. Ah, yes, breasts have come a long way. How unlike the 20s when breasts were forced underground, vanished from that carefree time, the black bottom, bootleg gin, the speakeasy, the flapper with their turned down hose. Given these fickle times, who knows what fashion will next mandate the gentle mammary? Perhaps those tops of ancient Crete, so well vented in gay esprit. What other fads might trundle back? The codpiece, the merkin, the bustle with the rustle, the whalebone corset, the chastity belt. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dan. Happy autumn, everyone. Everything's going to start beautifully dying now, my favorite time of year. So you can tell my poetry is not going to make you laugh. Well, maybe it will. This starts with an epigraph. I've seen attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I've watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time like tears in rain. It's from the film Blade Runner. Somewhere between the whiskey and the prayers, there comes a time. Although for earnest seasons you've changed your coat, your colors, summer sable, winter white. There comes a time, in spite of all your tyings and untyings, it comes with sword in hand like Alexander, cuts the knots, takes your careful fingers with them. There comes a time you know grace has leaked out of the reliquary. Open it and see the spider, dead black button, once leafy legs, now folded up, a dried umbrella, no longer threatening, no longer real. It may take a while, may wear a low velocity, like some green disease boring to the center of the earth. But eventually, the cat does not come back. Eventually, even Odysseus knows it's time to go home. And there you are, standing in the mall, watching all the young girls in their tight jeans walking by, like starships bursting into flame off the shoulder of Orion. There you are, reduced, judged in 2 dimensions, some jackal-headed Romeo on a ruined temple wall, the weight of your soul somewhere between a feather and the world. And since it's September, this is lines written after putting out the trash barefoot late one soft September night. The grass talks all day, whispers all night, long, slow flow, low to the ground, so low and small you may miss it, hear only grasshoppers, evening crickets, locusts every 7 years. The grass talks to young bare feet, prodigal, foolish hesitations. Don't be afraid. Kiss her. Taste what bees taste. Take what they take from my wildflowers. She is your wildflower. Have this moment. The grass speaks unheard by shouted boots, by hooves, tires and treads, the static crack and whir of guns and wings, the grinding of machines. The grass says, never mind. I will have you all, and soon enough. I will tell you then, and you will listen. The green lips parted to reveal the brown, toothless mouth of earth, of silence. The grass talks in the cuttings, in the humid smells of growth and harvest. The grass speaks in moisture, shocking wetness, the dews of sunrise and of dusk. It talks to me amid the near-forgotten ritual of trash cans on a Tuesday night, to shoeless feet no longer young. I feel its damp, cold hush above the starry silence. Stop now. Keep still. Be quiet. Thank you. If I might plug something.
I want to thank everyone for staying, and especially the featured readers. I anticipated that they would leave, which of course tells you a lot about me, nothing about them. And I figured, man, I mean, it's like you go to a concert and people pack up and they leave, and the next thing, actually there was one thing at the Arts Council where everyone did their 7 minutes and left. So thank you very much for staying. It means a lot to me, and I'm sure to everybody. I'm going to start with a haiku, which will make more sense after you hear the main course. Haiku is called Say What? So few Poles in the Hall of Fame, no one can spell or pronounce their name. Okay. Now this, it's color-coded for the impaired, but more than that. If this were on a page, you'd understand it very easily. It's a poem by Maya Angelou, which I wrote an answer to. So you're going to kind of have to listen to what she said. She is the purple person, and I'm the red person. So I'll do her stanza and then mine. It's called Ain't That Bad? Dancing the funky chicken, eating ribs and tips, digging all the latest sounds, and drinking gin in sips. Dancing the beer barrel polka, eating kielbasi and kraut, digging that funky accordion, letting it all hang out. Putting down that do-rag, tightening up my fro, wrapping up in blackness. Don't I shine and glow? Putting down that hairnet, loosening up my bun, waving my babushka. Ain't I having fun? Hearing Stevie Wonder, cooking beans and rice, going to the opera, checking out Leontine Price. Hearing Frankie Yankovic, fixing some knishes, listening to Liberace while I dry the dishes. Get down, Jesse Jackson, dance on, Alvin Ailey. Talk, Miss Barbara Jordan. Groove, Miss Pearlie Bailey. Get down, Lech Walesa. Z. Brzezinski, too. Right, Joseph Conrad. Conrad? Heck, who knew? Now, ain't they bad? And ain't they black? And ain't they black, and ain't they bad, and ain't they bad, and ain't they black, and ain't they fine? Now ain't they bad, and ain't they Polish, and ain't they Polish, and ain't they bad, and ain't they bad, and ain't they Polish, and ain't they fine? Black, like the hour of the night. I'm going to move this up because I think I'm going in and out of the mic. Black, like the hour of the night, when your love turns and wriggles close to your side. Black is the earth that has given birth to nations when all else is gone will abide. Pink, like the first blush of morning when the sun comes up and turns darkness into day. Pink, like a cervix when it's given birth, and a layette when a baby girl is on the way. Bad as the storm that leaps raging from the heavens, bringing the welcome rain. Bad as the sun burning orange, hot at midday, lifting the waters again. Arthur Ashe on the tennis court, Muhammad Ali in the ring, Andre Watson, Andrew Young, black men doing their thing. Andrew Galata in the ring, the Pope in the Vatican court, Roman Polanski and Rubinstein, pink men of every sort. Dressing in purples and pinks and green, exotic as rum and cokes, living our lives with flash and style. Ain't we colorful folks? Dressing in navy and white and beige, knocking back vodka mash, living our lives with zest and grace. Ain't we got panache? Now, ain't we bad, and ain't we black, and ain't we black, and ain't we bad, and ain't we bad, and ain't we black, and ain't we fine? Now, ain't we bad, and ain't we Polish, and ain't we Polish, and ain't we bad, and ain't we bad, and ain't we Polish, and ain't we fine? Thank you. I'm not Polish, by the way.
This is a poem that was inspired by something that happened last September around this time. And the title is actually a Dutch word, but the epigraph is the definition from a Dutch-English dictionary, so you'll be able to figure it out. Gaalgemaal, last meal, farewell dinner, literally gallows meal. A flash of orange attracts my eye, wings beating in place, unnatural as a tethered bird straining to be free. A painted lady struggles for her life as she's consumed. Cannibal's jaws clamped already on her head. Razored arms pin her like some exotic specimen to rows of Sharon leaf. I want to interfere, but stop myself. The predator, praying mantis, looks as if she's dying too, for shades of brown are masking wings and thorax. But is a butterfly's life worth living without eyes or proboscis? And is it ethical to deny food to a praying mantis, a species protected by law? She may have murdered her mate already, but even condemned killers are given a final meal. It's late September. Early frost could do them in. I leave them alone, letting nature take its course. On a cold morning 3 days later, I find a mantis praying in vain on my doorstep, her life hanging by a thread. And one more poem. This is a poem I came back from Maine about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I didn't write any poems while I was there, but now I'm writing a whole series of Maine poems. Seeing half the world. We see the tug before my daughter feels it. No muscle this time. She reels in a mackerel too small to keep, and I'm the one elected to tear the hook from its mouth. I try to be gentle, but when at last it's free, I see that I've taken an eye as well, from the inside out. Tossing the one-eyed mackerel back, I wonder whether he has half a chance. The eye on the hook stares at me, unblinking. I pull it off, hold it in my palm for a moment, then let it fall into the sea, watching it cling to the surface, then drift to the bottom, a small mirror reflecting the other side of the world.
She's going to feel bad now. So thanks, everybody, and I'll see you in October.